And from that accident, from that mistake, came this absolutely beautiful piece of music that I use as a reminder that I can keep on keeping on. So that sound, this beautiful accent, became the music for the podcast. Welcome to Living the Front Seat Life. I'm your host, Kelly Marie, and I invite you to take this journey with me. We're going to be talking about all things mental health and emotional well-being. You see, I am a overcomer. If you are interested in figuring out the path for you to determine how and where you will drive your future, this is the place to be. We get to determine the ride. We may not get to determine the weather or who's on the road with us or if it's going to be a scenic route or not. But we are the drivers. So join me on this ride, living the front seat life. Hey, good people. Welcome, and welcome. Here we are, back at it again. Who would have thought? 3 weeks in. I know it doesn't seem like much, but remember when I mentioned that whole consistency thing? Well, sometimes, I may or may not get bored with things, but suffice it to say, here we are, week 3, living the front seat life. And I've gotten such great feedback from you all. I appreciate you guys so much. Again, this would not be possible without the Rubinger Fellowship. I'm a 2021 LISC Rubinger Fellow, and LISC's support of me allows me to create and produce this podcast. Shout out to Jazzy, the one and only producer of Living the Front Seat Life. She takes my ramblings and makes it sound like, I make sense. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, hit her up. Now, last week, we talked about accountability, right? Self-accountability. What it means for you to keep it real with you. I shared my anxiety attack that I had recently. And it was really out of character for me because I have really made so much progress, yes, but also because I've reached a place in my recovery and in my journey where stress, anxiety, the underpinnings of how my brain processes things has morphed, transitioned, changed. I've grown to the place where I have not been experiencing them. So, it was a surprise to me because it was unexpected, but at the same time, really examining what was happening in my life in that moment showed me that for me, there were some definite reasons behind the reaction that my brain went into around that bike trip. So I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into that. Right after I recorded last week, I saw this article. The algorithm, always brings up whatever you've been thinking about. I swear somehow Google and Apple are able to read your thoughts and they will give you the information that has been on your mind, even if you didn't speak it. But let me grab it here. I was surprised, that it was on page 6, but at the same time, the article itself was like just perfect timing. So Howie Mandel, who you all may know, depending upon how old you are, you know him as a comedian, but maybe you know him from Bobby's World. A lot of folks know him now from America's Got Talent. He was the host of Deal or No Deal, and he is an individual that lives with OCD and has issues surrounding germs and is what he calls a germaphobe. You might have seen him do the fist bump because he lives with OCD, and it includes mysophobia, which is a pathological fear of germs and contamination. And so you will see him do the fist bump because he doesn't shake hands and he doesn't always, fist bump. But what I found so interesting it made mention of him being taped, or being, someone took a picture of him wearing a hazmat suit and a gas mask and orange rubber gloves on his way to taping America's Got Talent. And, people made a big deal out of it. A lot of folks laughed. And, if you think about what I shared with you guys last week, when I see that, I'm like, he showed up for work, right? And so, again, we're at different places in our walk. But what really resonated with me was how he spoke about Howard Hughes and how he thinks, he being Howie Mandel, how he thinks about living his life, understanding how Howard Hughes died. Now, Howard Hughes also suffered from OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. And despite his fame, despite his wealth, he died isolated and unrecognizable. Due to his condition. Howie says that every moment of his life, he lives not wanting to die the way Howard Hughes died. And that was so profound to me because that's how I see my mental health challenges. And I say challenges, I have a mental illness, illnesses. And how he talked about being so close to being in the same spot that Howard Hughes was in. He lives on an edge, and humor is a way that he's been able to survive. It's been a bridge for him, and it helps him keep his sanity and still be productive, but really teetering on that edge of being similar to Howard Hughes, alone, isolated, emaciated, unrecognizable because of the mental illness. And that's how he lives. That's how he functions, knowing how he does not want to die. I wanted to give you another example of how and hopefully it's beneficial to you, how I am able to use what is a symptom, an illness, can be seen as a negative, and turn it into something that is positive. So at the beginning and end of every episode, there is some awesome intro, outro music. And that song that you hear is called Kelly's Groove. Now, I currently take bass lessons and keyboard lessons. My instructor's name is Charles Foster from the Foster Music Collaborative. And in class for keyboard, I was studying, practicing glissando, which is like, it sounds like I really know what I'm talking about, right? Glissando, but I really don't. It's taking a chord, so the three notes, well, in this case, it was two notes in one hand and two in the other, and playing them in succession versus at the same time. And it's so very pretty. I love it. But I couldn't get my fingers to work, and I was so frustrated. And I practiced and could do it in practice, but come class time, I could not make this glissando happen. And so instead of the glissando, I made like this crazy other sound, and my instructor heard it and said, "Hey, that was wrong, but that's something right there," right? And we spent the rest of the class working around that sound. And from that accident, from that mistake, came this absolutely beautiful piece of music that I use as a reminder that I can keep on keeping on. So that sound, this beautiful accent, became the music for the podcast. Why did it become the music for the podcast? Because I wanted a reminder that every time I hear that sound, every time I listen to a podcast, every time there is some chaos, or every time, I have a mental health hiccup, it doesn't mean that the world has ended. It doesn't mean that everything is over. It means that something good can still come from that, right? That we can take negatives and turn them into a positive. It's all about perspective. And so again, for me, it is more than just, oh, that's a cool story. This is my life. And so I'm sharing this with you because there are going to be times in your life, many have probably already experienced this, but there are times when It seems like nothing is working in your favor. Nothing is working out. You're stressed out. Maybe the bills are due. Yes, we're still in, this very strange place, not just with the pandemic, but racial unrest and racial reckoning, understanding what it means to be Black, what it means to be a person of color, what it means to be a cultural minority, what it means to be American, what it means to not be American, what it means to be human. We are at this place in time where so many questions centered around our being, around who we are, is playing out in front of us every moment of the day. We can't get away from it. How many times have you been afraid to say the wrong thing, to address a colleague in the wrong way? How many times have you said, I really don't care what they think, I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna mean what I say? We are able to really take a step back and look at life, to look at who we are and where we are, and determine how we are going to move forward. Yesterday may have been ugly. Earlier today may have been ugly. There might have been pain. There may still be pain. But we can decide to find some joy. We can decide to still love. We can do the work that it takes to forgive. We can do the work that it takes to see our fellow human beings as whole and complete because we are. And whether it's race, whether it's culture, whether it's religion, whether it's ability or disability, whether it's illness or health, we have the opportunity to grow. And that is a choice we make each and every day. So I'm sharing the beautiful accident with you. I am sharing the fruit of what could have been a horrible moment in time for me, and how I was able to take that thing and make something beautiful out of it. Now, don't get me wrong. I actually did not create the song. I'm not that good. I can play scales and, read a couple notes. The song was actually created by Charles Foster. But it was birthed from the beautiful accident. It was birthed from a mistake. It was birthed from something that I was being very hard on myself because I couldn't get it right. But we took that couldn't get it right and made it into something that is great. So now, every time you hear the intro, Kelly's Groove, you can rock out with me, knowing that together, we can continue to make something good out of something that may be bad. So until the next time, I want to make sure that I leave you with contacts in case you are in need. If you're in crisis or need someone to talk to, please call the Suicide Prevention Helpline at 1-800-273-TALK or 1-800-273-8255. You can also text HOME, HOME, to 741-741. Text HOME to 741-741 to talk to someone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is free. It is confidential. Now, if you need resources to help you address life circumstances, try 911. It's a national network. You can do a keyword search or zip code search to find resources in your area. So until next time, I encourage you to be the light. And next week, I have our first guest, Chef Alexa Joan. We are going to be talking about mental health and food. She's our resident mental health chef. So I look forward to talking to you guys. Leave your comments, reach out. We are always looking to hear from you. If you have show ideas, if there's a topic you would like to be covered, you can reach me at kellymarie@frontseatlife.com. kellymarie@frontseatlife.com. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, send it to strangers, your friends and family, post it up on your social, frontseatlife.com, at The Front Seat Life on IG and Facebook, The Front Seat Life on Twitter. Until next time, folks, be the light.